Hello and welcome to the Mytech U December discussion. First of all, I'd like to apologize for last week cancellation. We had some flight and travel mishaps that caused myself to actually not be available, so to be stuck on a plane. So forgive the rescheduling of this December Mytech U edition. But today we're going to speak and discuss why IT support causes frustration. And then more importantly, how we can work together to change that. IT support is definitely a challenging component. There's lots of variables, and not only technology variables, but personnel and people variables. So you throw those two in a mix and can definitely net into frustration. So we're fortunate to be joined, and James Motes is going to be leading the presentation today, fortunately, because my voice is a little garbled today. So look forward to that. And then we also have a guest panelist, Emily Schwarzkopf, who's joining us. She is one of our project manager for onboarding all of our customers and setting expectations around managed services when we're about ready to kick off a new engagement. So she's joining us as well. So James and Emily, James, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's James, and I'm working as the NOC manager here at Mytech, and so I'm kind of the person that works behind the scenes. You often don't speak to me directly, as I'm not somebody quite as skilled as our help desk team at fixing the issues right away, but our team is in charge of kind of taking care of everything behind the scenes so that hopefully we reduce the number of problems that you do have, things like antivirus patching, checking to see if services are working right, that kind of thing. So really excited to talk about this. Our team is often used to help get these tools and processes in place to help make the IT experience better for everybody. So it's definitely something that is very near and dear to my heart to get out in front of the rest of our customers.
Thanks, James. Emily, do you want to? Perfect, thank you.
Yes, I'm Emily Schwarzkopf. I am onboarding project manager, and basically whenever we have a new client or a conversion or a renewal, I work both internally to ensure all new solutions are properly implemented and completed, and that client communication really happens on a regular basis during that process. And also I work with our clients to work on support engagement training, really helping people to know how to engage in various scenarios, and we also utilize this time in the onboarding to set up proper expectations and sort of paint a picture of what support engagement will look like.
Fantastic. Thanks, Emily and James. So without further ado, let me kind of frame up the conversation today. First of all, why are we admitting IT support is frustrating? I think the first step in solving any problem is admitting you have one. So, and I don't mean to speak just of Mytech and saying Mytech has IT support problems. I think it's an industry-wide challenge that we're dealing with, and especially looking at the last 15 years of IT support evolution, has gone from, you call us in or maybe send an email, and if we got back to you within a few days or a week, nobody cared, to today, if we're not answering the phone and solving the problem within minutes or hours, it's a real problem. So, and people rely on their technology more, and so anytime it's not working, we're already in a frustrating situation. So we've got someone who's not working, not productive, or they got a problem and they want it solved, and so it's already creating an environment where IT support is already set up for failure from the get-go oftentimes. So how can we work together to solve that problem? So first and foremost, one of the things that we've learned and why we're putting together these sessions, and we're going to highlight some of the tools that we're using to help solve these problems, but also to throw out ways in which we want your help, because it's going to be a collaborative effort to really solve this problem. But first and foremost, we've learned that IT support has to have a positive impact, and it has to improve the experience for your staff. It's not just about the leadership sitting in a conference room having strategy sessions and working on projects. It has to go down to everyone in your organization that leverages and works with technology. So how can we find solutions and work together to improve the experience for every single staff person in your organization? That's how we can hopefully deliver happiness to you and your staff and your organization as a whole. And then the next part is is really one of the things that, again, those leadership meetings do happen in those conference rooms where you're working on projects and figuring out strategy and plans. But sometimes those leaders, and I can put myself, I would say that sometimes if you're detached from the day-to-day going on, you might not necessarily know how your IT support company is having an impact. Are they doing a good job? Are they having negative feedback? So there's some feedback mechanisms that we have in place that we'll show you that we are encouraging our team, our customers to leverage, as well as to improve communication. So it's really making sure that we have kind of a closed loop system, not just on the individual support requests that your team are entering or asking Mytech to help you with, or helping your IT support with, but how you can actually have a closed loop, or how we're hoping we can engage each other to have a closed loop on improving the overall process together and making it a better experience. So trying the stage, that's kind of the stage for why are we admitting IT support is so frustrating. So with that, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to James, and he's going to go through the agenda and kind of guide us through why IT support is so frustrating, what we can do to change it. James.
Yeah, and I think we should also point out that this isn't just like a consulting, like what Mytech does, IT support. Like this happens in large or small organizations. You have your own IT team. You have a person that shows up every so often, or the boss's brother-in-law that comes in. It doesn't really matter where the source of it is. These are kind of universal truths that we feel like we've witnessed, and we're figuring out ways to improve no matter where that IT is coming from. And that's, we've got our own spin on it, but I think there's a lot of value to this in applying this regardless of the size of the organization. So we talked a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about what we can do, partly how we're going to work to engage to customize how we deliver service to the people in your organization. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. That's part of the problem, I think, with IT support in general. It's easier for IT people to fix, learn how to fix the technical problem, which is going to be similar, regardless of where, but the experience of the user that they're supporting is different, and that's sometimes the disconnect. And so we really want to improve that customization, that fit to your business and how it works within your employees' day-to-day life. And then a big part of this, too, is improving the communication that goes on from the IT team back to the person who's putting the request. This is probably the #1 thing that frustrates people. You can tolerate a lot if you know what's going on, or you give some constant feedback on what's going on. If it's just a black hole where you send in a request and you don't ever hear anything for a week or a month, that's not a positive experience for anyone. We've got a tool that we want to walk through that we're really excited about that's giving us some very good features, some ways to address these concerns, and then we want to briefly touch on how we can kind of close the loop to hear from our users and how this process is working and where we can always improve. So I think we can jump into why some of the support frustration, what are some of the root causes? Like if I am taking off my technical hat for working on this side of the industry and thinking back to when I've had to talk to a technical vendor or another support person, it's how am I supposed to know what the other person needs to do their job, right? Like we really want to see the person on the other end of the phone just magically knows exactly everything about me and my problem and just starts working on it, right? I don't want to spend time trying to like look up some crazy computer thing that I don't fully understand anyway and try and pass that along to them. So if anything we can do to facilitate just sort of an automatic, here's where I'm coming from, and provide some of those details to the technical team so they don't even have to ask for them, that helps speed up the process a lot. When we're really, like we mentioned, if you send in a notice, you're reaching out to your IT team, and you don't see any progress, you don't have any sort of indication that anyone's even looking at your issue anymore, that is really, really frustrating. This also pertains into like how do you get that the right person is on the right problem right away. If you have an issue and you call in and you get somebody and they work on it, and then they say, oh, I'm giving it to so-and-so, and I'm giving it to the next person, I'm giving it to the next person, I'm doing all these things. These are the more times it bounces, the less frustrating it's going to be, or I mean, the more frustrating it's going to be that you have to hear, I got another handoff, another person's on it. Like, what are they doing back there? And so part of this is to try and streamline it so the first person who touches it is the person who ends up with the right information to solve the problem. We think a lot of the frustration that we deal with our users comes from the fact that email is sort of the default way that you talk to IT, regardless of whether it's with us or with your other vendor or internal staff. And nobody should be surprised at the many limitations of email. It's got a lot of positive things working for it, but it has a lot of problems. It's just not as efficient as people want it to be, and it's very easy to misrepresent what you're doing. So if we're focused on email as the only way that we're talking to people, it's just going to lead to a lot of issues, including things like prioritization. So it's hard for us to know, is this just a minor issue that I can't print this thing and that's not so bad, or I can't print my $1 million quote and I've got to get it out in like 40 minutes, and they both look the same in an email. So how do you help prioritize what's important and get that again to the right person the right time, and then see the progress and give all the details so nobody's calling you back asking for more information. And again, all these things, even in a best case scenario, if something gets missed along the lines, now you've got somebody trying to call you, you're trying to call them back, you're in a meeting, they're not sitting around waiting for you, they have other issues to work on, so they start doing something else. So now you're going back and forth and just playing that phone tag game that just drives everybody crazy. We feel there's a better way. There's ways to address all of this and not get hung up so much on the individual issues that are standing between a good support experience and just another frustrating experience that just builds on all the other frustrating experiences you've ever had with a service.
Yeah, James, thanks. I feel that when you cover those things, it's so important to just articulate that these are the variables, and I appreciate what you said, is that these are the variables that surround IT support, period, right? No matter who it is, yeah. If you're helping out your mother-in-law, or if you're helping out your child or nephew or niece, or it's your IT team that's internal, or it's an external vendor, if you're calling up some ISP provider, these are the problems that exist across the entire industry, and so and again, I think it's a collaborative way we need to solve them. So I appreciate you calling that out, and kind of identifying some of the key variables that exist across a lot, like I said, all IT. So just thanks for definitely sharing that.
Yeah. So part of how we can address a lot of this, like we have a tool that we like that we feel like it cuts to the chase and remediating a lot of those problems. But one other piece that we really were looking for, because there's a number of ways you could solve those issues, but we wanted to make something that we could build specific to your business. When because of what we do, we deal with anybody from small law firms to large healthcare providers. You have a different set of needs that are very important to you that are completely different from the next customer that might call one of our support people. That's not your problem. That's something for us to fix. So we don't want to put the burden on the person calling in to walk us through how the special needs of their business. So what we wanted to get to is be able to build a system where we can say for you and your business, like maybe there's an application specific item. Like remember, when a user's putting in the ticket, remember they're the ones seeing this, so it might even prompt them, hey, if this is a QuickBooks issue, make sure you talk to Sally in accounting. Or we have a special process here, so we have a certain person that is dealing with all of the issues with our CRM, so make sure Bob is also included on this. Or you're trying to set up your phone. Well, before you even send the ticket, it's even prompting you, hey, remember, before you send this in, did you remember to look at this document or reboot this thing over here, or whatever it is. And we might even have temporary ones, like, hey, we have an ERP migration, so remember, you're going to see these problems. You don't need to send in a ticket. We're expecting that, but please tell us if it looks like this. Or, hey, we're moving offices this weekend, so if you see anything, make sure you talk to so-and-so, or you note that which location you're coming from. These are things that we can do to help prompt that specific action and getting it in the right hands with the right details. And if anything we can do to kind of prompt the user to give us the right pieces of information from the get-go, prevents, that limits the amount of time we have to keep reaching back and playing tag and trying to sort things out afterwards. Anything we can do to help give it a leg up of getting where it needs to go with the right information attached. Even to the point sometimes where we might even be able to help a user fix it before they even have to send the request in. So all these things have got to fit together, and that's what we're really looking to do, to drive towards, is a way to improve all of these communications and bottlenecks and customizations and deliver that in a way that doesn't put any of that burden on the person who just wants to get their computer fixed. So improving communication. This is one of the big challenges, right? Even if we have a group of people, like an engineering set or somebody who's very technically capable or computer savvy, and even there we can run into all sorts of issues because communication with the person to fix your computer is always the biggest hurdle, we feel like. So we wanted to improve that. Well, what does that mean? We can't we're not trying to put the burden on the person who needs help. They have enough stress in their life when they need IT support. We don't need them to do certain things or do it a certain way. So we want to make it easy, easier than email if that's possible. So we want to make the tool that allows that communication, facilitates these solutions, as simple to access as possible, like literally a click away. No passwords to remember, nothing to no special websites to get to and log into. It's got to be pretty easy because, let's face it, nobody really wants to think about how to interface with their IT provider until they need to. So you don't want to have to try and train them on something, and then in 3 months when they actually need to use it, it's very complicated and they don't remember. So we want to make it easy to use. We have to make it secure. Part of IT is dealing with security. We want to make sure that nobody can kind of hack the system to, do something malicious or unintentionally malicious that would jeopardize the network. We have to, again, make it customizable so we can deliver the experience that makes the most sense for a team or for a set of users. And we got to be able to expand with the growth of that business. So we've got to have features that make sense now and features that we can grow into over time. So we think we found that, which is exciting because that was a tall order. But there's a lot to go through, to get to this point. But once the tool is actually what we found, delivers with all of these things, nice big check boxes of making sure that it hits all these notes without putting too much of a burden on you or your team.
Yeah, and I think, we've called that the Mytech HELP Center, and James is going to do a demo of that. And part of this I just would encourage, I know because this isn't all just about Mytech and Mytech support, but I encourage you, if it's Mytech or any other provider that you're working with, it is about engaging with your provider, engaging with your IT support, whether it's internal or external, because helping solve these problems is not just about, well, the IT people should just know this. It really ends up being, well, these are the pain points we're experiencing, and how can we help make sure that we're improve the communication, gather the right information, help put it, so there's a collaboration between IT support and the end staff person using it. So, so with that said, James, take it away, Emily, since that's your screen. I know Emily's not doing it, but yeah, Emily's your screen. So
Emily's helped me set up a very nice sample, clean sample, so you don't have to see all my interactions with our internal IT department, because there are many. And I did want to point out that we are in the process of changing the name of this tool, and so if it is installed right now, you might see an update to it in which it shows this MTV customer portal gets changed to the Mytech HELP Center. That's coming out very soon as we get things up to date and current and get this all working. So what am I looking at? Well, this tool is delivered to our desktops. There's an icon in the desktop, and on the start menu and double clicking it just launches right in. We take the time to set things up ahead of time so there's no login, it just launches. It pops up with who we identify you as the user, and in addition it picks up a bunch of other details that are the details that we see when we look at your user in our system. So if you needed to say, I actually have a new cell phone number that we want to use, and I want you guys to call that, you can add that in there and save it, and now suddenly that's in play. Change your name, change your title. It goes all the way through into our system. So our text, again, you've provided our people with the best way to reach out to you. It gives a little bit of technical information. You don't even have to go look for it to know which machine you're working on. And it gives us some other minor details. Not much to see here, but it does give you a nice welcoming into the application. Most of what you're going to do is you're going to open this when you need help. So you're going to go down and ask for help and request support. We can customize the way that this view looks. I'm on a beta copy of one of our dev machines right here, so it's a little bit slower than I would expect it to be. But we can request support and launch any of these menus. Some of our larger customers, they do each one on the site. So you've got the Minneapolis-St. Paul branch, or the Rochester branch, or the whatever cities. Sometimes it's the you buy applications. So we might say, hey, here's a QuickBooks thing, and then when you launch into it, it shows a bunch of things that pertain to QuickBooks. There's a number of ways we can address that, depending on what, again, fits the needs of your business. Once you click in, you say, well, this problem is affecting me, so here is some of the things that I can do to fix that problem, and I can overwrite this or just prompt this. I can take a quick screenshot to say, hey, this is the problem, and now it's attached to my situation. I can attach other files, and then once I'm done, I can submit this, and it looks very similar to an email as far as a subject and a body, but it doesn't rely on email, so you could even say, my email is down. So it works very well to get you in there, and there's a number of ways that you can use it. It's pretty intuitive. Even if a user is kind of in a bit of a panic, we can always say, hey, look, there's an emergency going on. Give us the minimum information. Call this number when you're done, and we'll be able to take care of you. So it helps prompt that user. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that one of the things that you talked about, and I think you were just about to hit on it, but it looked like you were clicking away. That's why I interjected. Is that that's one of the challenges of email, as you mentioned earlier, is that there's no way to prioritize it. So that last screen that says it affects me, it affects some people, it affects everybody, it's an emergency. Right. This is one of the ways in which we can basically say, and we want, in fact, that even what James on the emergency one had even noted, if it's an emergency, if it's a critical issue, we don't just want you to rely on submitting this. We actually want you to call, because that's where you're going to get right into our queue. You'll be able to talk to a person, and you'll be able to work with that person to make sure the appropriate escalation and action is being taken, as opposed to just submitting a request into a queue that you're not sure where it goes. But if it doesn't require that urgency, if everybody's crying wolf all the time, that doesn't work. But if it doesn't require that urgency, then there's other ways in which you can identify that, so that we're not having to roll the fire truck, so to speak.
Right. The other thing that's worth noting is, again, by building in just a little bit of thought before they hit the submit button to make them think about what it is, it gets unwieldy if there's too much of this going on. But if we can put just a few guidance points before they send it in, things like being able to change a password or adding a new user, we could potentially route so that that request does not happen until it gets proper approval and authorization from designated people within your organization. So it even can help us, you can help prevent people from trying to circumvent your established processes around HR or access controls. The user on the factory floor can't come in and try and trick the help desk person to giving them access into the HR folder. There's some ways we can build in some controls. Our team is usually pretty on top of that sounds suspicious, I'm not even going to do that. But again, this kind of formalizes that process and gives you the approving person, the insight into who's making these kind of requests, and making sure that only takes action when you say so. A lot of our customers, they choose to engage us on a more limited support basis, where all they really want is for us to give them the ability to take the action themselves and escalate issues to us, so if an issue does arise, again, it can get routed to them, and they can choose to say, okay, Mytech, go ahead, or no, you know what, this person who just sent this in, I'll actually take care of that for you before we send it on to Mytech. So it gives us, again, that flexibility to build the service delivery the way your business requires.
And I think that's important.
Oh, go ahead, Emily. Yeah, sorry.
I think it's important, too, now that we're in this area, that we talk a little bit about that customization you referred to, James. So we recently, James mentioned there are different work environments that may make submitting individually a challenge. We've recently run into this problem in Colorado with a lot of our medical clients. If a physician is having an issue and he or she is in surgery all day, we've run into some challenges from a service delivery standpoint of, we may need access to that person's PC or need to talk to somebody to help troubleshoot. So we actually have created a form within everybody's profile so that people can submit on others' behalf. And it may mean the doctor comes to the practice manager and says, my PC is messed up, I'm going into surgery, can you report it for me? And the practice manager, we created the form to where the practice manager could either submit for the doctor and say, get back with me and I'll help troubleshoot. We even have the option of, follow up with the medical assistant, or, you can follow up with me, but I'm in meetings all day. Follow up with me after 3 o'clock. So we've really found some creative ways to make this tool work in unique work environments such as that. Same thing we just did for a jeweler, where we've got people on the sales floor all day. So there's really, limited amounts of time when people can be reachable. So I just think that's kind of cool that we're able to make it work for everybody, as long as we kind of get that dialogue going about what the needs are.
Yeah, and Emily, I appreciate you mentioning that, because that's really the key there is also about the engagement, right? I mean, there's so many different ways in which we can customize this, the individual customer experience, but we don't necessarily know what those are until we start talking about the operational challenges, right? And so, but if we can, and it's also one of those things that I believe in baby steps with things like this, because we're talking about humans and their behavior, and they typically don't change quickly, so it's got to be incremental change. And so it's, hey, make a suggestion, we can put something together, see how it works, make another adjustment over time, and it's all about the engagement with your provider. And really, so those are two examples, Emily, that I didn't even know that we had done. So that's fantastic. Thanks for interjecting that.
Yeah, there's a lot of ability. Again, one of the features that we really liked about this tool is the ability for us to grow it over time and add more of those features in. And those are really good. That, what we heard was there's this time where these kind of out-of-the-box things that Mytech's trying to tell me to do, they don't fit, and that's perfectly fine, and we can always go back and address them, and provide that way of saying, you know what, yeah, there's a part 2 here, there's another party involved, or there's a certain time that's going to work that we want you to ask, we want to make sure Mytech is prompting on what time it works to get back to this person, because they may not be available, or whatever it comes back to. So, yeah, absolutely, we have a lot of options that then seamlessly flow into how the end user sends the report to the support teams to take care of it.
And really, this is helping. This tool can really help and companies to get the best value out of the program that they're enrolled in. One of these medical examples, they were enrolled in our Essentials program, so they had unlimited remote support, 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. And the way that they were engaging with support prior to this onboarding was one single person at the practice was calling support, and then support would follow up with that one person. So can you imagine the tail chasing that ensued with just really, they were really kind of limiting our ability to really serve them in the manner in which they're hiring us to do. So this really was, it's made the primary contact's life so much easier. It's made end users so much happier. So this has really been a big win for, especially in that case. I feel like that's the largest improvement.
Well, that actually dovetails into the other reason you would use this tool is to see what happened to the ticket you put in. And if you were the person who used to be always dealing with it, you would actually want to see every ticket that might be flowing through your organization. And this tool, again, without having to go look through your email to try and sort out which email go to which ticket, or try and go, call up somebody, see what they're doing on, the other person's issue. This tool, I don't think we have too much built out here yet, but this tool does give you the ability to say, for the people that are appropriately permissioned, we can say, you can see all the tickets that your company has submitted and where they're at, and update them and ask questions about them and see what we were doing with them. Whereas the standard user, they'll see their own tickets, which is all they want to see. So again, it gives that flexibility to the primary contact in those situations where maybe they were doing that for a reason, so they didn't lose control of what was going on in the business. But that is a very inefficient way of being a gatekeeper, when really what's most efficient is to let the end users work with our team directly, but then be able to have the oversight to control, what's going on and get that pulse of what the business is using. And this kind of gives a nice way to do both. And again, sometimes it may not work that way. It gives us more options to customize. So maybe in a case like that, we might say every user can send in a ticket, but before it hits our help desk, that primary contact approves it. But once it's approved, they're no longer the gatekeeper. It doesn't have to go back through them once they've released it over to be worked on. So it gives a lot of flexibility over time. This one, once we have the ticket in there, you can quickly see if there are multiple, you can see all of them, what state they were in, who's working on them, what times are being worked on. Emily and one of our support techs went back and forth a little bit just to give you a sense of what it would look like over time. So, submitted, thought we fixed it, hey, it's not still a problem, try to go back and forth, and okay, I got it now, and we're good. So again, it gives you enough data points. If you needed to, you could go add another note and just update the ticket, and it would show up in the screen. You could upload additional files or screenshots. You could even say, I don't need you to do this anymore, go ahead and close it out. And again, all customized about what you can allow your users to do.
One of the things I like to note, James, in that particular screen is how dynamic the interaction is, because this actually, so we have different statuses. So for instance, the status of completed is up there because this ticket has been completed. But if that status was, for instance, in pending close or waiting on the customer to confirm or something like that, when you add a note or update the ticket, it'll actually then alert our team that a change has been made. So by just the mere fact of adding a note, you don't have to then say submit or do anything else as far as like notify or anything. It automatically updates the ticket, automatically updates our team that there's action that needs to be taken. So it's improving the communication piece. And the biggest piece, I know, I want to reiterate it, is about historically our customers would try and sort through their email to be able to do this. And they would go through days of emails, and they try and filter of all the ticket notifications that they might get and try and find the right ticket and make sure to try and figure out what the status is, or trying, sorting through all of their other emails that they also get on a daily basis to do this kind of stuff. And so this just completely simplifies the communication front with interaction with IT.
Right. And that'll work. An end user could certainly try and keep track of it through their email. We still use email like in addition to this. So for those people who have gotten used to doing a certain way, what we've noticed is that functionally, once you get more than like 1 or 2 requests a week, trying to keep up with all that just becomes impossible. You find that people just get inundated with messages. They're not actually looking at them like they wish they were. And it becomes very difficult to find the particular update that you're looking for. Is more and more messages out of our team start hitting the same person. So this is a very good way to reduce that noise, only get the information that you need, and have it all in one place so you don't have to go look through your inbox, which if it looks anything like mine is not somewhere you want to go digging back a couple weeks to try and find one specific email.
And I think one of the cool things is that add a note feature that you pointed out, James. If you guys look, the third item down, you can see the text said, hi Emily, I got your message. I left you a voicemail. When can I reach you? And knowing that he would probably be on a call or whatever, rather than call him, I just clicked add a note and said, sorry, I was in a meeting. Can you please call me when you're free? And then he did call me. So I don't want to give the impression that this is instant message, but it is a way for you to have direct communication with the tech that you've been working on. And I think that it's just a time saver for you, and there's less of that back and forth, phone tag frustration.
Or updating the wrong ticket, which we've seen in the past as well. Somebody responds to one of the tickets they're dealing with, and it's not actually the one that they mean to, and now our guys get a little confused, and they pull the wrong person in, and then everyone gets frustrated. So, again, it's just a nice way to keep the communication centralized, easy to find. There's some nice search features that you can use here, and then that gives the person that you do designate to kind of be in charge of all the IT going on. They can go and look at everything, even if it's been closed out in the past. So, again, one of the things we really wanted was a simple tool, so that's really about it. There are lots of other features that over time we could be developing and release to all of our customers or a certain set of our customers or to one customer in particular if it makes the most sense. But for what this needs to be for the average end user to improve their support experience, there's very, very straightforward. Even if they didn't have a whole lot of training on this tool, it should very quickly become apparent to them how to use it. So the strength of that, again, is that, after everyone is trained on the tool, you make a new hire in 6 months, they can, and even if nobody shows them, they have the ability to quickly interface with support at a high level as opposed to kind of figuring it out as they go.
And we do have instructions on how to use the portal. I typically will train all users during onboardings, but if anyone is interested in getting some communication out to staff, we do have instructions I could email out to you. And actually, we have one customer who has chosen to include that in a new hire packet from HR whenever they hire a new staff. So anything we can do to help make the engagement smooth and make people really understand what's available to them in terms of support, what to expect in terms of engagement, and then how to engage. We really are focusing on those points to make this better for everybody.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's the thing. I appreciate you mentioning that, Emily, because one of the challenges that we have, and I think and all of our customers have, is that just because we do a training at one point in time, once every 2 or 3 years, there's usually staff turnover that happens in that time period, and trying to make sure that we are able to capture and engage and provide resources to those folks as well. So however we can help in that regard is definitely a key part of the intent, and we do have resources available to help with that. So. All right, James, thank you very much for the demo, and Emily, I appreciate your additional content. So that's really a part of the communication and making sure we're improving the staff experience and the engagement. One of the pieces that the last piece that we were really talking about, this is another tool that we use and we would encourage, regardless of the tool, the importance is the feedback. So whether it's an internal IT you're engaging or an external vendor, the critical part as far as trying to eliminate as much as possible the frustration that does exist in IT support is being able to get feedback from your team. So what Mytech has done as an example is on every single service ticket, we've given the opportunity for the person who's listed on that service ticket to give us give Mytech feedback. And there's a little screenshot embedded here as far as it just says, hey, it's important for us to be able to improve. Was it a good experience, neutral experience, or bad experience? And it's a simple way, and then with one click, they actually go to a screen, and that can be it, or they have the opportunity to add some comments or notes as far as what was good or neutral or bad about the experience. We actually have then of course, once you get feedback, it's important to have escalation. So I'm skipping around on the bullets a little bit here, but it's important that the escalation is in place so that if there's any negative feedback, it goes right to service management and leadership, making sure that we follow up to rectify the problem or use that as a coaching opportunity with our staff. This has been a huge value, not only to us to understand where we might be missing the mark for our customers and making sure that we can coach our team on that, but the other part has been the second bullet there, which is our entire team has visibility. We actually have large flat screen displays in front of our help desk areas, team members, where they actually see all of this feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. So, and it's displaying on a screen all day, every day. And I promise you, none of our engineers want to see their name associated with the ticket that they worked on that gets bad feedback. So this has been a great tool for us to help give visibility to our team, to provide feedback from our customers. And the last one that I don't even have this bullet on here, but the last piece, again, is giving feedback to leadership. So in our reviews that we do with our customers, we actually communicate this information, provide this information, because very often the people in the leadership role that are engaging in those, again, quarterly conference planning meetings and things like that, don't necessarily have the visibility to how is my IT support vendor doing with giving a good experience to my staff. And so this is a way in which we can kind of get good feedback, de facto information, and provide them with information on how we can improve. And it's oftentimes if we see a neutral or a bad experience on there, we dig into that in those quarterly meetings and see how we can improve. So that's been a big part for us, and just another tool we use. And again, part of IT support being frustrating is making sure that you do give that feedback, and hopefully the provider you're working with, again, whether it's an ISP or an internal vendor, maybe your niece gives you feedback. The idea is really to make sure that you are providing that feedback, because generally can help improve the overall experience. Emily or James, any other comments or thoughts on that?
Just to say that, yeah, I mean, being on the technical side, like they do look up. They're overwhelmingly green smileys up there, so the red and the yellows really stand out, and you can watch techs as they're working, like, glance up and they look up to read if they see any of those run through, and they're not necessarily the ones that are going to respond to it, but they will often be like, it stands out, and it's enough that motivates them not to have those issues come back. So it really is in front of them and on a daily part of their life as those things roll by.
Yeah,
what I always
like to, go ahead, Emily, I'm sorry.
What I always like to tell customers during onboarding too is we really are listening and we'll take action based on your feedback. In fact, fairly recently we were hearing as we were growing that from some of our customers that it feels like you guys are getting too big, and every time I call I talk to somebody different, and we really took that feedback to heart and actually broke our service team up into smaller subgroups. So now there are smaller dedicated teams that are going to be working with each customer, and that just allows for a more intimate knowledge of our staff with customers' networks, and it allows you to sort of build a little bit more of a rapport with the staff that you're working with. And thus far, we've gotten just really great feedback about that change that we made, and that came from customer feedback. So we're definitely listening, and we'll take action.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that, Emily, because if I look back into the way in which our organization is structured today, the vast majority of our programs, our pricing methodology, our support tools, and the way we've broken our teams together, it's almost all come from customer feedback and trying to respond and improve the experience. So we do take that very seriously. I appreciate that. And it even creates some competition. Just the other day, our Denver team, there's two help desk teams out there, and so the whole Denver location, they went an entire month without a single negative feedback on this customer satisfaction survey for all the tickets they do. And they do probably about, I think it's around 250 service tickets a week, so they went for probably a little over 1,000 tickets, 1,000 service requests without a single negative response. So so there's some friendly competition that gets created from that as well between our teams. So any final thoughts before we conclude?
Again, just really excited about making this experience better. I feel like this is one of the areas that we've gotten to the point where we can spend the time and energy to make, not just work on fixing it, but how it gets fixed and making that as important to our business. And so it's really exciting to be a part of a team that values it that highly.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate Mytech's investment in helping to solve this problem. I think it's one of the things that makes us stand out from our competition, and I look forward to engaging with people either through onboarding or just kind of one-off to help solve some of these issues that are occurring. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Emily, and thanks everyone for listening today. And for those who will watch it recorded later, we do record this. It'll be on our website within 24 hours of this broadcast. And yeah, thank you for participating in Why IT Support Causes Frustration. And I encourage you and I welcome you to engage with us so we can work together and solve that problem. So thank you all very much. Have a Merry Christmas, and we're signing off.